time, I'd like to start the October 12th, 2023 Town of Lapel Planning Commission meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, can I please get a roll call?
Jeff Keith.
Here.
Matt Wood.
Here.
Paula Lee.
Here.
Brian Robertson.
Here.
Andrea Baldwin.
Here.
And Dan Scott is not here. And neither is Angie Calloway.
Alright, at this time, I'd like to look at the minutes for May 11th, June 8th, July 13th, and August. No.
May just do them one at a time.
Alright, let's start with May 11th.
Okay, on the 11th, it's Matt, Brian, Andrea, Angie, and me.
So we have enough for that one.
So we have enough for that one.
Alright, I didn't entertain a motion to approve the minutes for May 11th.
Second.
So this would be the first one first.
Oh, sorry, first, you did the motion. I'll second.
That's right. Jeff. Matt.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
For June 8th, it was Dan, Brian, Andrea, Jeff, and Angie.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the June 8th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Jeff.
Yes.
Matt.
Abstain?
Paula.
Abstain.
Brian.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
You have to have 4 votes.
Have to have 4.
Yes, we don't
Not
have
to vote it down.
Sorry.
We don't. Nope.
July 13th was Matt, Dan, Andrea, Paula, Brian, Angie, not Jeff.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the July 13th, 2023 meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Jeff. Matt.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
And August 10th, it was all of us but Jeff.
Oh, we can go back to the other one.
Yep.
I have to sit by you.
Mhm.
I wasn't
I'm
talking to
making
you,
a
I was talking to
motion to
Dale.
approve August 10th.
Second.
Jeff. Matt.
Yes.
Paula.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Okay.
Dan.
Yes.
6:38.
And then which one did we skip?
June 8th.
June 8th.
June.
Let's go back to June.
Yeah, Dan was on that one.
Yeah, he was there.
Still.
I'll make the motion to approve the June 8th meeting minutes.
Oh, we make those, you know.
Who was June?
Oh,
Yeah.
June, okay.
A second.
Jeff.
Yes.
Matt.
Abstain?
Paula.
Yes.
Brian.
You weren't on there.
No.
Brian.
Nope. Okay, abstain.
Andrea.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
I don't know if you asked me or not, but yes.
Do I?
I'm not sure if you asked me or not, but yes.
Oh, yeah, I said Brian, but I thought Paula was talking to him, so I got you.
It's all yes, old business? None. New business.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Item 1, application for plat 2023-02. A waiver to permit the applicant to go through an administrative subdivision procedure instead of the major subdivision procedure to split the lot into 2 lots for a total of 6 lots in a minor subdivision. The location is 0 West, 300 South, Lot 4 in Brookside Acres minor subdivision. The petitioners are Nathaniel McKeon, sorry, and Blaine Trinkle. Property owners are the same. Go ahead.
So, because it's a waiver request, it's a public hearing item that has to be noticed properly. The newspaper published the notice 8 days instead of at least 10 days in advance, and that was because when I emailed the request to publish the notice, it was only 2 days before, the ideal time, and that wasn't early enough for them. And so, because that notice requirement is not met at this point in time, we can't have a public hearing or review of this item today, and so we would have to continue the hearing of this item to the next date.
But if you get a junkyard, you can have it.
So,
Could we call a special meeting? Would that give you time to advertise, or?
so if you were to, vote on a time, date and place today, and let's say it's different, let's say it's in a week, right? Because we are only off by 2 days right now. If it was next week at this location, and if it's done right now at the public meeting, we don't have to renotice it, because we're already here, everyone's aware, that just how it works. So we could do something next week, or, and this place is typically available.
How many people are actually gonna be here next week? And
Let's
fall
not
break.
Let's not do next week.
Can we do it before the town, or before the RDC, or is that
Do
gonna be too early?
you guys need to try to get this done sooner, or?
I'm gone for a week come Sunday, but yes, preferably.
So next week you wouldn't be available, you said, right?
Yeah, it's fall break.
So the LRC meets at 6.
Townhouse is 7, that's on.
What about the are you talking about the 26th?
We're talking about the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay,
The LRC meets at 6, council meets at 7.
so that one is,
I mean, it depends on how early everybody could get here.
I won't be here. I have a board meeting for
Okay.
the South Madison Foundation.
Could we do it the day before?
Is the Eagles available that day, Paula?
It should be. I'll have to double check.
That's a Wednesday, the 25th.
May I ask a question, just to kind of explain why y'all can't do it right now? I'm not really understanding.
There wasn't enough notice given for the
It's
public
gotta be
hearing.
10-day notice. But one thing that I just wasn't aware of, the Collier only publishes on Wednesdays, which is kind of why the target's missed. I would say primarily why.
Is that in Pendleton?
Elwood.
Colliers,
Oh, the Colliers now. How come we post in Elwood when the paper's out of Pendleton? I mean, none of us everybody gets Pendleton paper around here.
They only post once a week, though.
But why don't we post in our own environment? Why don't we post in Pendleton?
there are state requirements about the kind of newspaper that the notices can be published at.
So Elwood's
And
paper is different than Pendleton's?
So when I came to work here and asked the legal counsel where the notices can be published, I was given this newspaper.
But it's inappropriate because that paper the Pendleton paper serves Lapel. Why would we publish in Elwood? That makes 0 sense. Well, I mean, that's something that, as a consultant, you should be consulting them, telling that's not appropriate place to post that. No one gets the Elwood paper down here.
And so I asked the legal counsel to.
I get you answered that, but
Right.
you're supposed to work for the people
Hey.
and advocate for the
Okay,
people.
hey, we're in the middle of a planning meeting, we have a discussion afterwards.
What time Wednesday, Oksana?
I can be here 25th would be, you guys.
It should be.
If they only publish on Wednesdays, is that enough time?
It's already been ran.
It's already been ran, so
We
that's
still
enough
ran it.
time.
Okay.
We're still running it,
Two more days then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you say 6:30 on the 25th?
They're checking.
Yeah, I mean, it's inappropriate.
Why don't we, can we come back to that
Yeah.
in just a little bit?
Yeah, they could do the
Make
Herald
sure this
Bulletin, which
place
runs
is
7 days a
available.
week.
Okay.
That way, if we need to find another place, we can do that.
We're okay with the 25th.
Yeah, that works.
Okay,
And in general, I
checking
know
to see if it's
you could also make the motion where, if it's not available, we can just continue it also to the next typically scheduled meeting as well, because that one we're not for sure that we have the time, we have the place.
Being one that just being that one day, you think we could just do it at the office or?
It's a public hearing, though, I don't know what
I post all my LACPs. LCA, we always post it.
Yeah.
until we make sure we have
We're gonna postpone that until the end of the meeting. They're checking on the
availability of the Eagles.
So we'll come back to it.
Next is, staff report with exhibits.
We wouldn't.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
part of that.
Oh, that's on that, sorry, my bad. Public comment. Is there any comment from the public that's not on the agenda tonight?
Can I comment on this, or do I have to comment on something else?
Something that's not on the agenda.
Okay, yes, sir. So there was a special meeting in April.
Go,
I didn't
sorry.
Yeah, go
sorry.
there.
My name is Amy Crosby,
Your address,
303 South John Street.
okay.
My question is for the special planning meeting that was taking place in April. Online, it just shows what time y'all got here. It shows y'all what time you adjourned, and it doesn't say anything else on the agenda. Are those, I went to the town hall the other day and I was talking to Ms. Paula, are those supposed to be verbatim? Are they just supposed to be a synopsis? Like, how do we know what is going to be a word for word and what is gonna be just,
What date was that again?
it was either April 13th or April 26th. The special planning meeting.
It was an executive meeting.
Minutes aren't posted for an executive meeting, just a record of the meeting dates, time and place and who attended.
And what are meetings like that held for?
They can be held for, it's listed on our, I'll find one of them to read it off to you.
While she's looking for that, I have another couple of questions, kind of more of a statement question. So in the last 6 or 7 weeks, we've learned about the LKQ project coming through. And I didn't hear about it until August 10th. And I felt like a lot of people didn't even know about it until after that. Is there a reason that that wasn't known to the public sooner? Is there a reason that that wasn't given to us so we could help be a part of the planning process?
It was followed under all protocol, it was published in the paper.
Elwood.
But we should be above
There was-
board with that. We should
We
be
were above board.
You followed the letter of the law, which is commendable, I give you that. But what I'm asking is being above board is letting people know when there's ample time to know. If you know by April, because title insurance was purchased for the property in April. So if you know by April, Oksana's creating all of their exhibits to you guys, like they're not drafting it themselves. She's doing the work that's paid by y'all for LKQ to come in. There's just a lot of speculation on that. I'd rather silence the speculation and let people that actually are a part of it speak to it, so it's not a gossip mill.
So by the time, I can speak for the time I knew about the project, there was a sign on the property within a week. That sign's been there, I think it's still there, isn't it?
They were down though.
Yes.
They were down. They were laying down.
But it's been there this whole time, for anybody to question that's driven by. It's been posted on Facebook, it was in the paper. Obviously, there's some arguments about what paper is the correct paper to be posting this in. But outside of, it was notified to all the surrounding people that it butts up to. I mean, outside of going door to door knocking, I'm not sure what you're asking for.
Well, I think just letting people know that that's the focus of the town, right? Like that we're looking at that kind of industry, because I read the town comprehensive plan And it doesn't say that kind of thing. I've read all of the surveys that were done. It was never meant to be general industrial, it's meant to be light industrial, and they wanted data centers or phone answering services. Like there wasn't ever, or hospitality is really what everybody voted on. Like hotels and things like that to come out there. That's what they thought was coming, not a multi-billion-dollar company that is gonna be a junkyard. So I'm just trying to set the expectation going forward, because the town comprehensive plan has now allowed you guys to change the rules and the ordinances within the town of Lapel. That's what a comprehensive plan is created for. So you can't change the ordinances and the land uses without it. So it's kind of letting people know that is pertinent is important versus, oh, we're just kind of gonna compile a comprehensive plan 2 years ago, and then all these things fall into place under their noses. Can you answer what's gonna be at the industrial plat? The 40-acre industrial park that's gonna be in Lapel, that's right across the street from it conveniently? Can you tell us that? Cause there's a lot of speculation that, wow, We Construction, or however you say their name, comes in and they propose for the land use change for that farm across the street.
That wasn't like.
That's not them.
Why?
That's Dorsey,
It's
he's
Dorsey.
always been there on that
They're-
land.
they're
Okay, so
today.
y'all all know the truth and you're quick to correct me, but nobody's quick to offer me
But where
information.
was you at these
Yeah,
meetings?
ma'am,
You
I
this is
didn't
all
know.
been public knowledge, it's posted,
It
ma'am,
is.
sorry.
Yeah,
But-
sorry, you're president.
You know, prime example, if you were here last meeting, with all due respect, you'd had these answers to answer. We talked about this. I admitted myself that prior to being a part of this board, people choose not to get educated because they're not interested at the time. When you decide that you're interested later, you can't be upset that you chose not to go to these things. It is known that every second Thursday we have a planning meeting. It's known that every third Thursday there's a town council meeting.
When did y'all change websites? Because that was pretty recent, like it's probably within the last 6 months to a year?
No,
No? Okay, well, the way they're updated now, it's kind of hard to follow. It's been a lot to catch up on. We didn't know, we don't know what we don't know until we know it.
I mean, the members aren't even right on the website.
Either way, I'm not trying to be confrontational in the sense that I wanna be a community, right? Like, I wanna be a part of it all with y'all. And that requires communication and a conversation and open and transparent honesty. So that's all I'm trying to get to, is we would have liked to have known before.
so I'll give you the due diligence here. Explain to me, as a town member, how you would have liked to have been informed.
How I would have liked to have been informed, I guess, honestly, talking about it. Like, the moment that you know that the whispers are coming, that this is something that we're gonna start looking at, that's when you build the rapport and you build the conversation, because then you might talk to your sister, and your sister might talk to her best friend, and her best friend's gonna talk to her husband, even though I don't know if you have sisters, that's not the point. The point is that's how you get information out, because I can promise you, in the last 6 weeks, the amount of people that have come to know about this is astronomical. All because one lady shared Mr. Smothers or Mr. Valentine's saying, hey, please go vote on this. And then that opened a whole door of all kinds of stuff. And nobody knew anything about it. So how do you think people should learn and understand?
People did know about it.
Yeah.
111 people voted on the town comprehensive plan.
So Greg Valentine is my neighbor, great friends. He has known about this since the beginning. I've known about it since it was publicly talked about. When I found out and really knew what was being talked about was right here, public, in front of everybody.
Mr. Wood, how many times do you go to county council meetings or commissioner
I
meetings?
don't, but I also don't stand up there in front of them and get upset because I
I'm
don't
not
know what they
upset.
talked about.
I'm not upset. I'm asking you how long y'all talked about it.
He was
How
a
long
vote
you know?
no. Matt did the right thing, and Matt said vote differently in the future. Matt was on top of things.
But
Oh, I
at the
read
end of
all
the
the
day,
minutes, yeah.
My
Yeah.
vote doesn't, it matters, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't matter with what you're bringing up tonight. So, my opinion on the situation doesn't change the way I feel about informing people.
Absolutely.
And that I felt that everybody was publicly known the same time I was.
Do you know what the Freedom of Information Act is? It's called FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. So Freedom of Information Act says as long as I put it out there, it's known. But it doesn't mean that you know where to look, how to find it, what to be looking for. Algorithms in Facebook do not show that you have something coming up. That's mathematical. I just want you to know that it would help to drop it in people's ears. You have neighbors, you have friends, you have family, you have a community that is doing baseball together, and they're doing football together, soccer together, they're building homes together. Blaine Trinkle's wife was my son's first grade teacher. I don't know this man from Adam, but I know that his wife was my son's first grade teacher.
Matt, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
If, usually we have 3 to 5 people here, unless somebody has a special meeting. The way to find out is come to these meetings.
Right, but not knowing they exist. Like, I don't even know what the
Knowing
people.
they exist, we have a website.
Okay, but if I don't go specifically look at your website, I'm not going to see that.
Nobody
You
can
want me to call
babysit you.
No, but I would like it just a better informing of y'all. I'm not asking, y'all are changing the subject. I'm asking y'all to speak to your friends and
You want
your
us
family.
to talk to people and spread the word that way? Well, that's happened and it's a bunch of lies. So is that good?
Okay, a meeting, you're just letting people know there's a meeting.
Is,
It's a
I didn't know what you said. You said spread the information.
I said,
It's happening.
let people know, have a conversation and invite them, hey, we're having a meeting, this is going on.
We
But
did
you-
that with the, if I may talk now, we did that with the parks, trying to get people to come in. We had a whole,
I
we
think
had posters set up and wanted people to come and vote. 10 people possibly showed that night, and it had been out. I mean, everyone knew how the parks were. I mean, you could come in, you could look at what we wanted for the future. It was gonna be with our plan. We had 10 people, and that was maybe 4 of them I brought with me.
That's awesome, that was great that you brought forward with you.
But still, this community, I mean, you know, when we have these meetings, everyone needs to, there's some nights I don't wanna go, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start going to the town board meeting, because I wanna know what's going on.
Absolutely,
But,
absolutely.
you know,
I
like I
support
said,
that.
when we did that comprehensive for all the parks, we had nice posters all set up, we had people ready to talk to people. No one showed hardly.
Ma'am, before we move on from this, cause this isn't getting anywhere.
I think it's actually gotten very far, but it's okay.
Offices are open, what, 9 to 4?
8 to 4.
8 to 4? If you have any information, questions about times, dates, locations, feel free to call.
I've gone in the last probably 2 times in the last 3 days, so I know how to do that as well. That puts the burden of proof or the burden of use back on the people, and you're right, it is our right and our responsibility. I completely agree with this 1000%. I guess I'm just trying to make sure that it's clear that it takes a village. As much as it's our responsibility, it falls on y'all's responsibility too. And if I'm not accountable, then hold me accountable, because I'm gonna try to hold y'all accountable as well, because that's the way that a community functions productively, kindly, without running their mouths behind people's back, as Mr. Paddock says that we do. I go to the horse's mouth.
Oh, it's happening.
Well, nepotism is a very real thing.
Well.
So, thank you, Mr. Wood.
Alright, is there anything else
Did you
tonight?
want your other question answered, or
Which one? About the April?
the one you first come up here?
The
I
executive?
can read it to you.
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
come on, yes,
do I?
you don't have to say anything.
Notice of an executive session is the governing body named above will conduct an executive session pursuant to Indiana's Open Meetings Law, India Code 514, 15-61B, 2B, for the following reasons. Meeting is authorized by federal or state statute other than IC Code 514, 1.5-6.1. Or for discussion of strategy with respect to A, collective bargaining, B, initiation of litigation or litigation which is either pending or has been threatened specifically in writing, C, the implementation of security systems, D, the purchase or lease of real property by the governing body up to the time a contract or option to purchase or lease is executed by the parties. By law, all such strategy discussions must be necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons and must not include competitive or bargaining adversaries. Number 3, for discussion of the assessment, design, and implementation of school safety and security measures, plans, and systems. Number 4, interviews with industrial or commercial prospects or agents of industrial or commercial prospects by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the Office of Tourism Development, the Indiana Finance Authority, or Economic Development Commissions. 5, to receive information about the interview prospective employees. 6, with respect to an individual over whom the governing body has jurisdiction, which is A, to receive information concerning the individual's alleged misconduct, or B, to discuss before a determination the individual's status as an employee, student, or independent contractor who is a physician or school bus driver. 7, for discussion of records classified as confidential by the state or federal statute. 8, to discuss before any placement decision an individual, and I hit a button on my phone.
That's okay, that's good, okay, yeah.
And you're welcome, anytime an executive session is set up, it is always posted at least on our bulletin board, and it has this whole list, and it has marked on there what it's for.
So were we allowed to ask what it was about?
I can look it up and find what it was about.
Cause I'm gonna go with, if I had to, based on what I've read in all of the minutes in the last week or so, I would say it was either a discussion with LKQ
No.
for that, cause that's, you said industrial, or it was bringing on Oksana, cause May 11th, y'all introduced her to as the town planner.
It was neither one of those. It was about a financial.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's financial situation
Yes.
within the town.
Alright, thank you.
So I'm Catherine Callahan, everybody knows where I live, so
I'm gonna
gonna,
stop you real quick, I'm sorry, cause I think I'm supposed to say this publicly at the beginning, but we do have legal tonight, it's Evan McMullen, and he's
That's fine.
via phone, so
Okay.
just wanna make that public, sorry.
so I service a lot of the community, and I get a lot of feedback on how they'd like to be notified. The majority of the people, some do not have internet, some do read the Pelham paper, they do not read the Elwood paper, that's how they communicate. We have a consultant team that does not truly represent the town because they don't live here. So even though she's asked where they put it, we should, as individuals, tell them, well, we don't read the Elwood paper, it doesn't come here, we read the Pendleton. So for us, we need this to go into the Pendleton paper. In the situation that these two gentlemen find themselves in, because I do believe they work, you know, it could be posted in the Anderson paper, so we meet that deadline for these individuals, so they don't have to come back for a second time, because that goes 5 days a week. So, as a consultant, she really should be looking at the best interests of our community and our constituents, saying, hey, this is gonna get only posted on a Wednesday, we're not gonna meet those 10 days, we really need to honor these people in their time, so let's post it in the Herald Bulletin, so enough time is done there. I would think that you would want that same respect for you to respect their time. So, you know, I hear a lot of respect words going on in this town. That's probably something we should have advocated for these people, because they don't know. You guys are the experts because you sit on this, so you have to help the people in the community. So I'm just saying, just some things to take into consideration.
Real quick, Oksana, is there?
We can have the room.
Yeah.
We can have the room. Okay, on the 25th.
Oh, okay. You hear that? You're all good?
That's fine. And what time?
We have to make a motion.
We have to make a motion.
6:30. 6:30, same time.
Alright, we'll make a motion after this.
After the public.
We have to, we're gonna have a special meeting on the 25th of October for, the Trinkle McKeon replat.
Here at the
Because it
Eagles?
was posted in the Elwood paper and it was short 2 days of publication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay.
Alright, yes, go ahead.
Lucy Orphan, you probably all know me by now, Vine Street. Okay, so, speaking to what Amy's talking about, but on a higher level even, and I've said this before, so I apologize if it's a dead horse, but I think we missed an opportunity here, this LKQ thing kind of fleshed it out. I proposed a couple of years ago the newsletter, and yes, there is a newsletter, but I think that newsletter, and let me preface this by saying, I get it, you guys are busy, I'm not saying that you're not doing your jobs, I'm not saying you should be doing more, anything like that, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think the newsletter has an opportunity here. The people in this town don't really understand what the planning committee does, or planning commission does. And let me explain to you why I say that. Some do, there are some that are invested in the government, local government, they understand. For those of us that don't, we come and we ask questions. And I've gotta tell you that my initial reception to the planning committee when I came and asked questions wasn't good. The quote that I left with was, what's the internet? Go look on the internet, it's all on the internet. Andrea took time after the meeting, almost an hour of her time to answer my questions, so that I can understand what the comprehensive plan was, so I can understand what land use was, so that I can understand what the purpose of the planning committee was, planning commission was. I stopped coming to the meetings because I had some health issues, I also stopped going to the town meetings for the same reason. But I think if the town understood what the planning commission's purpose is, they would be more engaged. And then when they do come and they ask questions, it needs to be welcomed. And that's an intentional, I get it, you all have jobs, you're tired when you get here, you wanna get done, get out. But people have to be welcomed when they wanna engage, whatever, wherever they are. If they're pissed off when they show up, okay, they're pissed off when they show up. Sometimes just giving them information will alleviate that, right? And de-escalate that. So I'm not saying that in an accusatory manner whatsoever, but maybe a blurb from the planning commission, somebody from the planning commission submit something to the newsletter for ladies to publish next month, explaining what the planning commission does, why it's important, why it's relevant to the average person. Then maybe the next time you have an opening, you'll have people showing interest. Maybe people will come to the meetings or at least pay attention to the agendas, and they won't feel so shocked and irritated when they find out that something big is happening that they didn't know was in the works. And I think that's kind of what happened here. I look at the agendas. I did not realize what I was looking at when I saw that first LKQ petition. To be honest, I showed up at the second public hearing because when I went to the special meeting, Evan and I got to a debate about the special permit thing for special events. And he said, you guys were gonna be talking about one that was more relevant to the private landowner versus events for the town. So I showed up, so I wanted to hear that. I was completely floored. I had no idea this was going on. And then when I saw what happened, and it seemed like it had been cut short a little bit because it had been the second meeting. So I was just completely floored. Then when Valentine put that out and you know what happened from there, I'm not gonna rehash it all, but I think people were kind of like, how did we not know that something this big was going on? Is it our fault? Sure, to some degree it is our fault. But on the other hand, everybody in this town isn't, you know, some of them are raising kids, you know, they got full-time jobs, they got things going on, they don't know what this is. They just trust that you guys got a handle, and then they get shocked when they find out later something's going on. So just a thought, you know, that maybe in the newsletter, the different, boards and committees could submit just a little blurb of something in this newsletter that says, this is what we do for you, for the people. You know, and we invite you to become engaged, and if you have questions, here's where you can ask, you know, about what we do. You know, I don't know, just a thought. And my second point, if you don't mind, can somebody, I was surprised when I heard you read out the results for the survey that was taken when the comprehensive plan was done. To hear that industrial for that particular area was one of the lowest in terms of the results. What took place in that conversation, if you don't mind, because I wasn't engaged in, that led to the lowest choice being what you guys went with?
I can't comment on that at that time because that was voted on, I think, prior to me.
Okay. I just didn't know
I
if
came
anybody
in,
had
but
any insight.
right during that, but I think it was already developed at that point. We were just learning it.
Where was it posted?
Well, there was, I do remember.
I don't even recall this.
I do remember surveys coming out. There were surveys before the water project, there were surveys around that time, there were online surveys. And cause I remember coming to the first planning meeting over the Parks and Thoroughfare, being frustrated that I found out like a couple of days before the meeting, and I had to send my husband. My husband's not who you wanna send to those things. So I had to send my husband to get the information about it. And I think Andrea had unfortunately got tied up with my husband in that one. But again, it was another situation where I just don't think people really understood the significance of it, if that makes sense. other than people who naturally gravitate toward local government.
So you're talking about the process to create the comprehensive plan, correct?
Yeah, I do remember some of that going on in the background, but I don't think that, look, I don't think I'm stupid, but I'm no brain surgeon, okay? And life gets busy for all of us, and I don't think that I really understood the significance of the comprehensive plan and how it was relevant to me.
So I can speak briefly. I think I was president during some of that. But a firm, I had to look it up because I can't remember the name, Kimley Horn, we hired to come in and help the town create a comprehensive plan.
Right.
And this went on for several months. There was meetings here, there was online polls, there was all of that. And as someone else had mentioned, I think when you look at the results of that, a lot of those survey questions, yeah, there's 100 people voting on a town our size, so not many people were involved. I didn't come to all the meetings, but I did come to the ones I could. The presentations were great. They went over what other towns are doing, what they thought our town should do, and then it was opened up for surveys and things like that. And obviously during that process, it's where do you want to see expansion? Where do you want to see residential? Where do you want to see? So based on their recommendations, they created the maps. There's a thoroughfare plan, parks. I mean, when you look through that, there was a ton of information put in there. But we were basing it off of what people showed up and what was said during those meetings. So yeah, I wish the turnout would have been much better. And I don't think people do realize when we vote on this, every one of those questionnaires, does this match the town comprehensive plan? That's the number one question that we look at, and I don't feel like people paid enough attention to that.
I agree, I don't think they understood what it meant for them. I think what we're seeing now with the LKQ debate is that there isn't a cohesive vision within the town, not just for this corridor, but for our town as a whole. There's a lot of debate over growth and why it's important and things like that. And for those of you who have corporate jobs, I'm sure you've heard the term change management. That may be something the town looks to invest in, is maybe a little bit of help with change management to get some of the buy-in and to help engage the community in a way that helps them to really understand what the needs and opportunities are in a way that brings people to the table to talk about solutions instead of just opposition. Just a thought, just throwing that out there.
And to go back to your first question and point, I have been on the planning commission for coming up on 4 years now. I mean, I can point to people in this room, Mrs. Evelo. I can't tell you how many times she's called me and asked me questions about, hey, this was in the meeting minutes, what's that mean? And I don't think I've ever not returned your call and I mean, we've had hour-long discussions. So anybody that's here can reach out. I mean, all of our information is on the town website. It's no secret who's on these commissions. To come up to a meeting and expect someone to explain how the planning commission works, I think is a bit unfair. It's just, that's not what the meeting is for.
That's fair.
But reach out, ask the question.
So if I'm, let's say I'm new to the town, and I decide I wanna know what's going on, right? And that first meeting that I attended, I put out a summary, hey, do you guys know what the planning commission does? I put that out online. I was surprised at the response I got, a lot of people didn't. How would you want me to engage with that question, and how would I know coming in how to engage with that question?
Fill out the website.
Look at the agendas, look at what items are on that agenda, and then ask those questions. Hey, I see that someone wants to rezone property. I see somebody wants to do a subdivision of property. What's that mean? Ton of information out online. I know you know that's what the internet's for. Sorry about that. But there is a ton of information. I mean, we follow state laws, state regulations. It's all regulated, by the state. So you can get out there and get information. But like I said, I've numerous people have reached out to me. This is on the agenda. What's that mean? And I've never not returned a call, I've never taken time, I've maybe had to call people back, cause I do have a full-time job, but, I've spent hours and hours on the phone with individuals, explaining why things are important, why we're doing what we're doing. But it's on the public to be engaged, to reach out.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you hearing me out, you know, I just, more or less, I'm just speaking for the average person. I know when I was raising kids, man, I wasn't worried about zoning rules, cause I'll tell you the truth, I didn't know they mattered.
Exactly.
You know, when I knew they mattered to me, when we came to the first planning meeting, and you guys were talking about making a rule that people with detached garages couldn't turn them into mother-in-law's quarters, and I stopped for a minute and I said, how many of you guys have detached garages? And that's when I realized that what you do matters to me, right? So I don't know that the average person understands
No,
what
they
you do, and that's all I'm saying, is that it might be worth making that point to the town of how it's relevant to them to be engaged, that's all.
I think you made a valid point, and I think in the newsletter, we could probably do like, we'll start with the planning commission if you like. This is what the planning commission does, and then maybe the next
That's a great
newsletter we'll
idea.
do like, this is what the council does, this is what the BZA does, this is what the LRC does, and just a brief synopsis, I
And you can do
guess.
that on the webpage, your personal page,
Uh,
with some examples.
Sure,
Yeah, that's a
we could
great
do
idea.
that too, just to kind of bring everybody together on the same page,
Right.
kind of keep everybody in the loop. Not everybody may know there's an LRC.
I don't
even
I don't know what it is.
I have no idea what that is.
I'm gonna go to and ask, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, the LRC is the Lapel Redevelopment Commission. And the Lapel Redevelopment Commission is a board that meets on the third Thursday of each month at 6 o'clock here at the Eagles. And we discuss ways to allocate our TIF funding. Because there are only so many things that you can do with funding that you receive from TIF. So as a matter of fact, on the 26th at 6 o'clock, we are going to go over some of our ideas that we would like to see TIF funds spent on for 2024, and I won't give them away in case you want to come to the meeting.
Okay.
And you could suggest, you know, well, hey, that's a great idea, but could you do this? Well, if it's in the funding, you know, if it's in an allowed expense of the funding, it's possible. So Thursday night, the 26th, 6 o'clock here, LRC meeting.
I think a lot of people are learning just from the video feeds. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
agree.
people are starting to understand what you guys do.
And to go along with what Jeff said, when he was president, I have have taken phone calls. Feel free to call me. I probably am not gonna answer if you call in the middle of the day. I will call you back because I do have a full-time job outside of here. But a prime example was, a few months back, a couple months ago, I went to someone's house in town. They called me, they said, hey, Mr. Wood, I got a question. I'm trying to understand, right-of-ways and someone else's property and hearing on my property it had to do with trees. I said, yeah. He said, would you mind just coming here and looking at it yourself so you understand what I'm talking about? I went out there, I took a look, I took pictures. Pretty sure that was the one that I called you on to make sure, I called him to make sure I was speaking correctly, and that he was on the same page as me as what's required and what's not, what you're allowed to act on and what you're not allowed to act on. And he was extremely happy, he appreciated it. Wasn't what he was hoping, but at least he understood what he had a right to do against another homeowner and what he didn't. So yeah, feel free, like I said, I will call you back that day or the next. I'll even come by your house sometime. If I need to come and look at something, put eyes on it, take my own pictures. I don't mind. If you don't have my number, I don't know if it's online, but you can call the office, they can give it to you, so.
Appreciate that.
And Matt, I wanna say, I'm gonna go on the back of Jeff also. I had just moved back into town. I'm born and raised here, but I had moved out for a while. I believe some of the information started on Facebook, and I know we said we don't have, everyone has it, but that's where I started to get involved. they were doing it and you'd go live and they would tell everything about the comprehensive plan. They were asking questions, and I believe it was during COVID.
It
is
was,
when I first
it
started
was.
watching it.
The
so-
live streams are gonna make a big difference. People will
So
be able
that's,
to.
yeah,
Surveys
that's where I
too.
started watching it and got involved, so.
I'd say a big part of the problem too is we had 16% turnout for the primaries.
Oh, yeah.
I like
You
to
got-
file a complaint. I stopped by some farmers
Hey.
and, they're pushing me off my, having
Sir,
encroachment.
hang on, 1 second.
They're encroaching on my family's land.
Can you wait your turn? Go ahead.
I just wanna acknowledge that in Lapel, we had a 16-17% turnout for the primary. That's countrywide, statewide, and that's a bigger part of the problem, I think.
But we had a great turnout on the survey on Facebook.
But you know, this is.
1,600.
This is the hot item,
Yeah,
but once this is done,
what happens?
the
Yeah.
tide
Everyone's
recedes,
not
the
gonna
tide
come
I
recedes.
again.
got land rights from the fire department all the way down Broadway.
Sir.
Anderson.
That's all.
Just certain properties have land
Hey,
You might
rights.
well just
sir.
have to sit up there, let him go.
Would you like to come up
You
and
gotta come
state
up
your
here.
name and address?
Yeah, I'm Jason Nugent, I'm from, Anderson, it's the 4404 Denise Drive. In Anderson, I live in Chesterfield, and, I got, horsemen from the track taking down my fence. Can't put it back, I got cows ready to put in there.
Where's your property at, sir?
I used to keep, horses in my family's, field that tore up all the fence, and them horsemen in Anderson are driving past it and putting in farms, and my family's fence is tore down, and they're encroaching on my family's property over here in Lapel. My mom grew up over here, and I got the money for the land, and I was talking to the farmers over there, and they pushed me off, and I can't even find my Aunt Helen's land.
Sir,
And my family's worked 3 generations at Brockway.
Sir, are you from here?
Yeah, I'm from here.
Okay,
They pushed me off the land. I can't even go see my Aunt Helen. She went to IU University in Bloomington, and she's got where she has a short leg, and we own all that property over there, and I have the money for it, and they pushed me off there because they have all this equipment that they think they got, and my Uncle Gene over there, we have all that property over there.
Why don't we go outside and we'll talk about it? I'll go outside and talk to you about it, okay? How can we help you?
Yeah, no, you go ahead. I just didn't want her to be by herself.
Hey, you do it, you do it here, I'll go with her. Yeah, you're on the board.
It's okay, it's okay. He's fine, he went that way.
There's a
It's okay.
guy, hysterical,
I mean, I'm used to this stuff, so.
Yeah.
I was afraid what was in the bag.
I was too. We all were.
When we heard the music, I think we were okay.
I think he's more of like a paranoid schizophrenic, so I'm completely fine.
That's a good idea. Oh my gosh, so scared.
I think he did all of us.
6 foot, had headsets on,
Has like a green helmet hat.
had a
looking on.
green,
He's
like,
mentally, I mean, it's a mental thing.
Bucket
so.
hat.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a mental
So
issue.
sad too, he's pretty good.
He wasn't in some
Okay,
dangerous,
where
just
do we live?
aggressive.
I can't.
Somebody rewind the tape, where do we leave them?
He took off walking.
That way, whatever direction that is.
He's heading east on, what road is this?
Oh, he's went that way now.
Nate was going.
I don't, what road is this?
Ninth.
It's
Oh.
on 9th Street in
He's
LaPel.
a police officer, isn't he? Oh,
Nate's
should I?
not.
Oh,
His
he's not.
brother is.
His brother.
He's walking
He's an
east
insurance
on
agent.
9th Street in LaPel.
Same, police officer,
Same.
insurance agent.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Only has 4
same
out of-
difference.
out of the building.
Oh.
90 Wood. 317.
I could've just called Buffy.
9481. And if they have any questions, they can stop in here.
Is the meeting called?
He drove off? No, he was.
in like a box.
I was
like a
informed
gray
that
box.
he just drove off, he was in a what?
It's like some gray like box and vehicle.
In like a gray box vehicle.
With a rack on top.
With a rack on top.
Thanks.
He went south.
You said he was heading south.
Heading south, went right there by the granary between.
Which way was he headed?
Probably mad at the
South.
farmers.
South.
See, I love everybody in this room, I'm willing to take one for
Yeah,
the
southbound on
I love
Main.
y'all.
Whatever this road right here is, that goes in between the granary.
Oh, that's Woodward.
Woodward.
Yeah, so he went south on Woodward.
South of Woodward.
That's where's my house.
Yeah. Who did you?
That was good.
Alright, thank you.
It'll be a pass.
Okay,
Oh, Gary, I'm the planning meeting.
I'm ready to go home.
Do we know what
I need a drink.
I just wanna
Yes.
go home.
I make a motion that we continue application 2023-02 on October 25th at 6:30 PM here at the Eagles for Mr. McKeon and Mr. Trinkle.
I gotta go back and read it.
Did you see the
Jess.
Yes.
Matt.
25th?
Paula.
25th.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I ask one more question? It's just about time. So, Jeff, you said that you've been on the board for 4 years. How long has everybody been with doing this and working it and living it and breathing it and understanding it? So you're 4 years. Matt, how long have you been doing it? You said you just
2
joined?
years, yeah.
Oh, 2 years,
2?
that's a lot.
Miss Paula?
22.
Robertson, right?
Yes, just over a year.
Mr.
Same
Pat?
as Jeff.
I'm over a year, but I took classes through Purdue, so
I
I
did
didn't
too.
set up here and know what I wasn't doing. I wanted to be aware for my community and know.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And 4.
Or Miss Teresa, sorry, yes. I figured you were elected, that might be known, so.
I mean, I was secretary for I don't know how long, but yeah.
David Phelps, I have a couple of questions. The gentleman was talking about such a low turnout, and I would imagine a lot of people thought that they didn't have to vote in the primary because they would vote in November for the city council. But nobody told them. Nobody knew. Is that right?
It's
Some
uncontested.
people, I would imagine, people don't know. Who's gonna tell, Dave, you know, how many people gonna listen to me? And you don't have to, if there's 4 people, you vote for 3, you don't have to vote for 3.
No, you can,
Vote,
Vote for one, that's what I've always been
yeah,
told.
you can
That's
just
the
vote for
you
one.
want.
And another thing, a lot of people don't realize,
Yeah, Jeff told me.
I asked them at the election board, I said, why are the names the way they are? Cause I knew that the person probably at the top was gonna be nominated.
that's generally.
People don't know, they don't know, so they just pick 3 out of random. They pick the first 3. But the woman at the election board, she said, that's the way they do it. So, but people aren't aware, cause they thought they'd have a chance to vote in November. But people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, if
So
you have the,
who's gonna tell them?
yeah, if you have the highest letter in the
Yeah.
alphabet, you have
Yeah.
like an automatic 10% of the votes.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, how many in here take the Elwood paper? I've never heard of the Elwood paper.
I couldn't find anybody in
And
Elwood that took the Elwood paper.
Why is it posted?
They don't read up there. They don't
Why
read
is
up
it
there.
posted in Elwood? You know, I take the Anderson paper and I don't even read it every
The
day.
Elwood paper coming after us. It's a nice newspaper, we'll say that.
I
It's
know
a
the
nice
Herald
newspaper.
Bulletin's ridiculously.
It is,
Yeah.
but I think it should be, I think
To post?
it should be
Welcome.
posted.
I think
in
you
the
have a
Anderson
contract.
paper.
know who it was?
Oh, no.
He's from Chesterfield.
We were all.
I got
He's
video.
got a green bucket hat on
We
with
have him on
headphones.
film.
His name
What
is
did
Doug
he
Powell.
make any threats?
No.
We didn't know, we were
He
just
had
like,
bag,
We were
he's
worried about
carrying a
that.
black bag, and it.
they said he got in a car.
He wasn't aggressive, he was just loud and he wasn't in his right frame of mind.
It was like a
He wouldn't let anybody talk.
boxy gray vehicle with a black rack on top of it.
But
Just
he
came
was,
in
Well,
yelling.
sorry to interrupt the meeting.
well, he was griping about farmers, so check all
Yeah.
around.
South
South
of-
on
south of
Woodward.
Woodward.
South
Yeah.
on
We'll go
Woodward.
check.
Thanks for
I just wanna make
coming.
sure you guys are okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But my question is, why can't it be posted in a different paper?
I think so.
It can.
That was legal counsel.
That's
prepared.
legal counsel, yeah.
So, we'll consult them and ask why.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, the closest in region or what.
Well, the thing is, I think there's probably more people that take the Anderson paper, and if they saw it, they would post it, or post it on the town or something, where more people would see it, and then they would tell other people, maybe.
He's asking, everybody's asking why we
You can
publish
step up
in
there
the
if you'd like to
Elwood
hear
Call
it.
Leader and not like the Herald Bulletin or the Pendleton Times.
Typically, well, one, I guess, I've never really questioned that, right? When I came in, that's just kind of what was going on, so I assume that that's, how Bell wanted it to be done anyways. I do know that when it comes to how fast we can get notices out as well, typically depends on who's publishing when, because Pendleton, I believe, is published less frequently than a Herald or a Call Leader.
It's the same as the Call Leader.
Okay, thank you.
Is he an attorney or assistant attorney?
He's
He's an attorney.
an attorney.
Why would an attorney assume something? And you ask him for help, if he's assuming something, or he'll look for Paula for information. That's all I gotta
Call
say.
Leader used to cover sports, they were big, and just like all the other papers, they've shrunk a lot. But they used to do a good
Ken
job
does all
covering
the work.
Lapel,
You know
Franklin
that?
Yeah,
sports.
Ken does all the work.
Sports, everything, Ken does it all.
Oh yeah, you search up Lapel in
Yeah.
the Herald
Oh, yeah.
Bulletin, it's gonna be a lot of articles. Every
Goes to-
basketball game your
goes to
daughter's in,
county
your
council
son.
Meetings, and he does it all. So,
And then how many don't see a newspaper at all?
Yeah.
That's what I'm like.
But still legally, it has to be the
Yeah,
paper.
yeah.
Still
Oh,
legally, the
so-
internet's not acceptable.
I wouldn't see it.
Another
Well, I think it
alternative
should
to
be
that
changed.
would be like a text message. You know how the schools will send you a text
We have
message?
that.
A query to set up that says, hey, this is an automated thing. Everybody has a text message, even if it's, unless it's your grandmother's grandmother that still has a flip phone, chances are she's got a landline. But she'll make sure that somebody's there. That is another way that you can do it. It's not just the responsibility of the people
We have
to
that.
search the information.
have that.
Are these
Now
for
we get
meetings?
text?
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do
Yeah, we
text
did.
alerts.
Well, I've never gotten
I think
anything.
that's great.
I've never
It's on
gotten
the
anything.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
I'll
can
have to look.
sign up.
Okay, why would you put it in people's notices and let
So,
them know?
where can they find it at?
You can go either or, it's on the
You can go either
website.
or.
Yes, go
And
ahead.
you Can sign up for text?
Keep going, keep going, but.
I'm just, so you go on the website and people can sign up for text, get notifications?
Mhm.
Well, so a bunch of people I'm sure will see this tonight.
Yeah, it's on the website and then, or even on the Facebook in the top right corner, it says, if you wanna sign up for the text or whatever, what it is, but it's there. Right, whatever it is. Stephanie Evlo, 3054 Hickory Lane here in Lapel. One of my questions was just about the comprehensive plan. When was that? Cause I know I was on some like things that, wasn't it like during 2020-ish?
It was during COVID.
Yeah,
happened.
it
When
went on
was
for
it like
quite a while.
finalized?
Yeah.
It was 2021, April of 2021.
Is when it was actually
Okay.
voted by town council.
I would love to see the whole planning council, whoever and all, I don't even know how, like I said, again, how all this works. But I would love to see us as a complete town review and re-look at all that, because I mean, obviously if there's like 110 or 11 or whatever, don't get me wrong, that's great, but that's not great, right? Like, I mean, that's like such a small percentage, like we're talking
1/25.
about. Say again?
1/25.
1/25 decided whatever that looks like. And I think that in the recent scenarios, we're hearing what people like would maybe like to see or what they would like to see along there, and maybe, and then I think it goes back to maybe what you were saying, Christy, right? Sorry, Christy. That I think that I don't even know if they knew or understood like really what it was, even if they were talking about it, and what that would
What it
maybe,
means.
what it would mean and what it would, whatever, right? I know this is a crazy thing, but I did not know anything that was going on until I just happened to come to the planning meeting whenever it was voted on. I mean, whenever that was. And I'm just saying, same thing. I think just communication, I think, and I think it's just, and I know I just texted Teresa just the other night, we're all in a growth phase here in Lapel, so these are just growing pains. I mean, and it sucks right now, right, cause we're all in the midst of it, but we're just needing to work together as committees and boards and as public and humans, right, and all try to come together, because right now, I know, and even like the way we're sitting, right, is like one side and the other side, but really like we're all one, and trying to figure out like how or what that needs to look like and how we can do that. Because just like that text, right, like I remember I was like, oh, this is awesome, like now I can get text, and so when a trash pickup is different, or you know what I mean, like those little things or whatever, those are like great little things that I may not see on Facebook, or I may not see in the newsletter. I mean, I think we get the newsletter, but Derek gets the mail, so I don't ever see it. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, everybody's form of communication is different. And so I think that that's where, if we can just collectively, as a board and town and community, think about everybody learns different ways and everybody communicates different ways. So how can we do this in the best way so that everybody can see and know and hear and understand? And I think, Paula, that is an excellent idea, putting on the newsletter about what these things are, because I mean, that's where I just started coming, right? Tried to learn this. And there was something even the other day, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that like once something gets changed or whatever into whatever on the zoning, that it can't like just get changed back, or you know what I mean, like whatever. Like I have no idea how all that works, right? So that's where I think this is all just like a learning curve for all of us. I think it's a I pity all of you literally on this board and on every single board right now, because we're in a huge growth spurt in Lapel, Indiana, and I know for those of you in lots of business and stuff, it's really just about the leadership lid, right? So it's pushing the leadership lid and raising the bar of what the expectation is. Yes. And so we've been a little bitty small community for a long, long time, and it's what I call the tribal knowledge. So if you come to Lapel, you have to be in the tribe and know the tribal knowledge and language. And because we've been smaller and like a little tribe for so long, everybody was like in and everybody kind of knew, but now we're growing and expanding, and we have people that are not inside the tribe and haven't been here in the tribe and don't know the tribal language. And so it's just trying to get all of us to be able to talk on the same page, right?
To have the same weight in what we say. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
your voice holds weight as much as mine does, as much as theirs does, as much as hers does, his does. And it doesn't mean that we all hold the same vote, but it does mean that we should all have the same voice.
I think we've had great dialogue tonight. I think that you're gonna
Yeah,
have
I
a
think
lot
it's
of great views
fantastic.
on this, because people have really learned. You guys have explained a lot of things that are accessible. I mean, even in this room, 50% of us didn't know we had text. I mean, I'm in this I'm
Text, yeah.
around all the time, so I think this is a great learning thing, and I'll share that with the people who come.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the page, it says alerts, and has a
Yeah.
little picture of a cell phone.
Oh, see, I didn't even know.
And you guys have
Yeah,
done,
and
oh, sorry.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, so my powerful request would be, is there any possibility, and I don't know what that would look like, I don't even know the details, and I don't know what's all voted on and official and whatever, you know, but like, maybe that's it, do we just have like another like little like, I think town hall meeting, right, like not a specific whatever, like just like maybe about the comprehensive plan, like just so people could see and know and understand and like, you know what I mean, cause I think that's really where the challenge comes, is just when people don't know, and then that's the thing. It has been communicated, and I myself was not paying attention to any of it, right? Until then you wanted to know more, right?
How often do towns normally review their comprehensive plan?
Okay. So,
and I think because it was all done during COVID, I
Yeah.
think there was probably less involved, which is why I think it would be super important to do it and almost kind of do a review, revamp, like kind of scenario, look at, you know, whatever, regardless of the LKQ thing is what I'm saying.
yes.
Right, I'm just saying in general, to try to get the buy-in, right? Cause right now, we're so divided, and it's really like, we're too small a community to be like, going through what we're going through, so. But we're in growing pains, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, legally, there is no requirement about how often the comprehensive plan is updated. The general planning, you know, recommendation is to look at it every, 5 to 10 years. Because that's about the time that, you have your plan, you start executing policies within that plan. You look back at it, within 5 years for the whole revamp. If you have a more, a bigger community, a more active community where things just happen all the time, they also adopt this thing where they just as a practice, every year they look back, what have we done, like what action steps we did from that plan, what is still remaining, and they just, as a planning commission, as a planning departments together, they just do this kind of annual audits, right? And because then it makes it so that you look at the comprehensive plan and you see, did we do what did we do? Where things are going? Are we seeing any changes? And also the way how the market things go. Because one thing that I also kind of haven't heard, in our discussion here, and I'm all for education, I'm all for better communication, all for that. Comprehensive plans usually have a vision, a general idea, so that no matter what, we come back as a community and we can see this is that approximate vision that we all discussed, agreed on, and then, as the public, we kind of know what to expect, and then as the planning commissioners and town council are voting, they can fall back on something. The developers sometimes will have different ideas. The market will have different idea, and they have the right to apply and still go through the process. Even if we can communicate with them, in the pre-application period that, well, this is what our comprehensive plan says. And they say, well, but we see that the market, the utilities, the natural conditions here might be better for them, and they have that idea, they sometimes may apply anyway. And so we will be in this situation, this public forum, where we still will need to review it. And it's not because, we didn't put us up of it. We can't. Any of you would have a right, if you have the property in Lapel or anywhere else, to see if your idea holds up, right? And this is what we're seeing with this submittal is, they have an idea. There are a lot of conditions that, make it sort of fit, but sort of not, right? And so we have this public forum to discuss all of these things. And so there will be sometimes these kinds of, conflicts, but that's why we also have public forums. It's so that, the applicant actually sees what the community thinks, what the, planning commission thinks, kind of, we are forming the full picture about those ideas. And sometimes also, what I noticed is if you have a smaller community that is not growing, they can have a plan, and I've seen some not even execute anything within the 10 years of adopting the plan because nothing is happening, no one is applying. And then here we have Lapel's plan that was adopted 2 years ago. People are already asking, and they are asking also, and this is something that is, confusing more so to me. We have a zoning district, general industrial, but the plan did not even ask about that use. Like the community didn't have a discussion about where that could be appropriate, and so right now the comprehensive plan has little guidance. But other businesses like that, yes. Is there a zoning district within our ordinance, with the regulations where that exists that would allow for that kind of business? Yes. And so when the developers look around, they'll look at the ordinance, they'll look at the plan, and they'll look, well, the zoning district exists, the plan is this, we'll look at, so where is the closest to this industrial, where is the closest to the utilities? They combine all that information, they try to fit into our picture, and then, we find what we find. But what we'll also find is that discussion didn't happen for that kind of business. And again, maybe people just didn't expect it, I don't know why.
Well, I think if you do a vision, that's great, but you also have to have a mission. So you have to have both of those labeled. This is our vision and this is our mission. You can't have one without the other, because you have to see this is what we want to achieve. So, and I say that because in the hospitals, we always have a vision, but then we always have a mission. So you need both to kind of say where you guys are all headed. I think if that mission were there, then people would have a better understanding. I don't believe anybody on this council or on this committee had a mission for a junkyard, right? They had a mission to bring in businesses.
Yes, but the state also would say things like, you can't just
But-
tell no.
And I'm
to
not saying
every
that,
business.
but I'm saying if you
So
have a
in our mission,
vision,
we can't say
and you
that,
have a
you know what I
mission,
mean?
yeah, if you have a vision and you have a mission, it helps your community understand what your goals are.
Oksana, I think, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I think maybe, our meeting for January, be past the holidays, new year, be a great time to.
New start.
I would,
Twice
okay,
again.
so the second part of it is, so the community as a whole could start, having these kinds of discussions. To me, the question is, how is it executed? Because comprehensive plan, that's always a consultant, that's always a fee, that's always a process, all of these things, right? Like, the good part about having community discussions first is to even discuss the needs for the changes, so that if you were to then spend money on this update, that, you just have this planned out.
Well,
Why you spending
I'm not
the
saying
money
an
to
update,
get-
I'm saying just a review, an
Yeah.
understanding review.
Discussion.
public,
Explain it.
Forums.
For
So,
planning board.
the public discussions and things could happen so that you can refine overall, maybe some requests, ideas, see if they could be included, if they could be changed in the future, because we could have discussions, but if they don't change the plan, when I review the planning application, I have to review it according to the existing plan, right? I will say that the discussions might help the commission and the council to be more aware of where the public stands right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is where, those conversations would be helpful. At
Or
least
over the next 5
at
years,
this-
this is where you wanna go with
At
it.
this point in time.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my general thing, but I feel like that would have to be kind of planned out, worked into whatever schedule you guys have, and,
That would,
the meetings.
Some open forums.
that would give some time for some incremental, cause I think you do it in small
Yeah.
digestible pieces, incremental education for the townspeople about why this is important and how this is gonna steer the direction of the entire town in terms of growth over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Because, like, you look at towns, I know nobody wants to be Carmel, but if you look at Carmel clearly has designed their town around the arts. You look at Pendleton has clearly decided we will still have small town feel regardless of what else we do. They have an overarching vision. I don't know that I feel that in Lapel from the conversations that I'm having with the residents about where they think the town should go.
You gotta have a vision and a mission.
So just a thought,
The comprehensive plan has 5 tabs. Can you just break them down into 5 tab sessions?
Go ahead, sorry.
Yes.
He's been asking to speak for a
No,
while.
I haven't.
No.
So you guys don't know me, I'm Dave Benefit, I'm with the Madison County Council of Governments. I'm a certified planner, been coming to these meetings for, 6 months, 6-7 months. Me and Oksana are colleagues as well as your previous consultants. So a couple things I would say. Number one, you're not the only community going through your own pains. You're absolutely right about this. This is great. This is what it takes for a community to really wake up and say, hey, there's stuff going on here and we need to know more about it. Unfortunately, it's painful and it's frustrating and it causes anger, and disgust, and questions and all this. But where you go from here is what's really important. So you have a great opportunity. Oksana is right. Every 5 years, if you are on the edge of development, which you are, you, Ingalls, and Fortville are feeling this. You are starting to feel it. They've been feeling it for a while, Pendleton has too. You're now just starting to feel it. As the community comes on, a 10-year span of a plan is not enough. You need to be on it more quicker. So 5 years. Things here are gonna change within the next 5 years. So if I would definitely recommend you to plan for funding another plan. It is costly, it is time, it's a 9 to 12, 15 months process, it's $50,000 to $75,000. I would recommend that you hire a consultant that is a planner, a certified planner.
Yes.
Someone that the county doesn't use.
Not
Let's find our
an,
own.
not an architect, not an engineer, not a landscape architect, and that is what a lot of times happens. And you get something more like that, but it doesn't look at everything wholly. At the same time, no matter who does it, we can't drag people from their homes to get them here to these meetings.
Absolutely.
When I was a consultant once, and I did small communities all over southern Indiana, all over Indiana. We did smaller than Lapel, and they had some big thing that, some of them had nothing going on, like Oksana said. There was nothing really going on. They probably haven't had anything happen in the past 10 years at all. But the thing is that when I sat down with them and, you know, went through the process and I explained to them what this is, I always call it a roadmap for the future. It's really basic. We gotta figure out where we wanna go, where we're at, where we wanna go. That's all a comprehensive plan is, at the very, very basic level. And if you don't have one that's really good, you may not have a mission statement or a vision statement that encompasses all the
Right.
community. If you don't have enough public participation, people will show up, you're not gonna get that. I always built a steering committee whenever, I don't know if you had a steering committee
They did.
for several, and it would not be all plan commission members, it would be city council, it would be fire,
Right.
the school, police, a little bit of everybody. And I would normally have 10 to 20 people. And you know, you'd get about 8 people every meeting, right? Because that's how our lives work. But the thing is that I told them, you are all my people. We have one big public meeting, right? And we do a process. We normally call it a SWOT analysis. And you probably went through that during your process. So strengths, weaknesses, assets, and threats is what you identified. And I told my steering committee, if you don't invite everybody and include everybody, they're gonna be hollering at you that they weren't involved. And my old colleagues say, it's better to have people pissing in your tent than on your tent.
Amen.
So it's really the job of the steering committee and the plan commission, when you go through that process, to drag everybody out, say, if you don't come back to me later and say, I didn't know, I wasn't there. And that's what we're doing here, because we didn't know. But every small community goes through this thing, they don't know, and this is great, because from now on, now your role here, I'll have to go tell everybody what you learned tonight, and tell it's not that bad.
Believe me, I do.
This is normal, and they're not bad people, they're trying their best. And it takes what is the?
Village.
It takes a village.
It takes a village, but it takes a really bad thing to come at you that you don't like and try to deal with it.
To make you grow.
To figure
Absolutely.
out, to get everybody riled up, to get everybody realize, we
Absolutely.
need to know more, we need to know this. So I commend you for this, you guys have already come a long way in 6 months, it's not becoming, and I'm just watching. So I do think that a great idea with some kind of explaining things about what each board does on your website's great. I think the law says 1 newspaper, you could do all 3, you could do 2,
You can
change to
exceed
1.
the minimum.
You can do lots
Yeah.
of
You can
things.
exceed the minimum.
But yeah, so yeah, you can't exceed the, but it costs, we all
It
have to
does.
consider costs here, because we're a small community, you don't want your taxes to raise, right? So you have to think about those things as well, so there's a big juggling match here during this growth process, trying to figure everything out. So, hopefully I'm just trying to say that this is normal. It's really, really normal that you're all going through it. You're going through it, it's a really tough time. It's really tough for Oksana as well to kind of navigate through this as the consultant. It's really hard for you to figure out. You feel violated, left behind, all these things, but really not. It's just now you're realizing, oh, this is really important stuff that I need to know. And it's really not rocket science. It's just you got to go through a process by your laws, by the state laws, to get things to when someone comes to you, you can't say, no, we're not going to do that here.
Yeah.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
You have to go through a process. And the process, I think, was done correctly. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I don't live here, but I have a lot of friends that live here, and I hear it, and I try to explain to everybody, because I understand what's going on, so it's my background. And I try to tell people, well, this is what's really going on, try to give good information out there, because I know there's been lots and lots of conversation and talk and things, but I think everybody's really doing the best you can. So just wanted to say that this is normal. So keep trudging along, and I encourage you, I'll keep going back and watching. So if you ever need anything from me, I work for Madison County Council of Governments. I primarily deal with road stuff on my line, but I obviously do comprehensive planning stuff. Our agency does comprehensive planning too. I think you used Neil Stevenson in our office prior to, and your comprehensive plan a while back, or maybe it was ordinances. Which ordinances, so we do all kinds of stuff like that too in-house. And maybe we can do some kind of a in-between SWOT analysis to kind of get some of these thoughts. Maybe we can team up or something. We can talk about that later, but, okay. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I piggyback on exactly what he just said? So it's what is forming, storming, norming, and performing. I don't know, has anybody else ever heard of this? Okay, so what is forming, storming, norming, and performing? The concept of forming, storming, norming, and performing describes the 4 stages of psychological development a team goes through as they work on a project. Teams move through each stage as they overcome challenges, learn to work together, and eventually focus on accomplishing a shared goal. So I think that's the thing. It's forming, Right now, we are totally in the storming stage, right? Little Lapel, the community as a whole. And then we'll get through this, and then it will be norming, right? But right now, we're just in the storm. So that's what, and this is national leadership training stuff, so
Yeah.
just go look it up. But yeah, we're just in the storm. So it's normal, I guess, just like you said. We're no different than anybody else.
You're not any different than any other community.
We posted these, I guess.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
Another meeting.
Um, Is there any other comment from the planning commission? At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting until.
October 25th.
October 25th.
Thanks, everybody,
Yeah,
for coming.
October
Glad-
25th, sorry, I forgot.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in, no.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Everybody in favor?
Aye. You're still working.